What's up, everybody? This is Alex Christoforou with the Duran, and I have with me Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran, and today we're going to be taking a look at the shifting attack on Brett Kavanaugh. Okay, Alexander, we've gone now from a sexual assaulter to now a belligerent drunk, and I don't want me or you to say, we told you so on all of this stuff by giving a week's extension on this and not getting the vote over with, which I think was a tragic mistake. They should have gotten the vote, but now they've added an extra week, and here comes more and more ridiculous accusations. I think this latest one, that he's a heavy drinker and they like to drink in college, is absolutely ridiculous. Give us your take as to what's going on with Kavanaugh. And I also want you to, maybe before you go into that, what's going on there and how things are shifting, from a legal perspective, also go over Rachel Mitchell's memo to the Senate Judiciary Committee and what she outlined there as well. So start with Rachel Mitchell better, and then move into what's going on with Kavanaugh.
Right. I mean, Rachel Mitchell is actually really important, and it's amazing to my mind how little attention her memo has attracted. Now, Rachel Mitchell is the experienced prosecutor that was brought in by the Senate Judiciary Republicans to actually ask questions of Dr. Ford. She was the person who you saw on the television pictures asking the questions, and she is a trained attorney and a trained prosecutor in this precise field. This is something that she really knows very well about. And what she says in this memo, which she has given to Grassley, who is the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and which will eventually be passed on to Mitch McConnell, who is the Senate Majority Leader, is that from a legal point of view, the case against Kavanaugh just doesn't exist. There is no basis here for bringing any kind of prosecution against Brett Kavanaugh on sex assault charges, based on what Dr. Ford said. And the reason that is so is because Dr. Ford's claims are completely uncorroborated. She is uncertain about key facts about where this assault is supposed to have happened. And there are certain concerns about some of the things that she did or failed to do. I mean, one specific concern is that it seems that Dr. Ford both wanted anonymity, or rather confidentiality, for her accusations against Brett Kavanaugh, and at the same time wanted to stop his confirmation to the Senate. And that has to, in Mitchell's opinion, cast some doubt on the value of her accusation. And also, Mitchell basically very strongly hints at the very end of her memo, when she sets out a timeline of how this matter has been conducted, about she basically hints that Dr. Ford was fairly carefully rehearsed, or coached through her testimony. Now, I've had lots of experience of seeing people in court, and that was overwhelmingly my impression. And can I just say, there's nothing sinister or wrong about that. That is what you would expect in a matter of this kind, that people, the lawyers acting for Dr. Ford, who are very experienced lawyers, would take her through her testimony and prepare her for it. And it seems to me extraordinary that people seem oblivious to all of this. So, to summarise, there just isn't a sex assault case to be made against Brett Kavanaugh. I mean, it just isn't there. And we've talked, I think, in previous programmes, and I know you've talked about it in a programme you did with Peter Lavelle, there is that there is a presumption of innocence in this sort of case. And I think there has to be, because as I said, when there is no real evidence other than the word of the accused, and no corroborative evidence, and the accused herself cannot remember key details, and this is something that happened 36 years ago, and where the person who is being accused emphatically and categorically denies that the alleged crime ever took place, you have to give the accused the benefit of the doubt and assume that he is innocent. Otherwise, no system of fairness or law can work. So let us put this question of the sex assault charge to one side. As I said, we now have a very, very important legal opinion, which basically says this, from the person who actually cross-examined Dr. Ford. And I'm sure that the FBI will come to the same view. So what we now have instead,
Alexander, just to break in real quick,
yes.
would you? I want your expert legal take on this real quick. A quick answer.
Yes.
Would you say that Rachel Mitchell, 100% unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, has exonerated Brett Kavanaugh?
Yes,
with that memo?
I think she has. I mean, as I said, what she has said is he has no case to answer. I mean, that's what she said. When you say something like that, when you say that there is no case to answer, that means he is innocent, and he must be treated as being innocent. And that is why, to come back to your first question, we're now moving on to this next thing, which is we've seen the latest claim by somebody who knew Kavanaugh at Yale, which is that the man drank rather a lot and got sometimes a bit aggressive. Now, Kavanaugh actually admitted in his Senate testimony that he drank rather a lot. So I don't really see what the issue is here. And like you, I mean, I just don't understand this at all. I mean, you know, a teenage boy at school and university gets drunk from time to time. You know, what is that? Why is that important or interesting 30 plus years later? I mean, I just don't understand that in any way. And I certainly don't think it proves that he is a liar on that specific question or on any other matter.
Yeah, they're now playing the perjury card, and they're saying that he perjured himself under oath because he said that he had beers, but he never blacked out. But now you have people saying, oh no, he blacked out. But my question to you, Alex, how the hell do people know if Brett Kavanaugh blacked out, or if he was feeling sick after alcohol, or if he was drunk or tipsy, or you know, any of that stuff? How would these people know what he was feeling, what he was going through?
Well, of course, I mean, they wouldn't. I mean, this is, as I said, this is decades ago. And again, we have one set of unverified, uncorroborated allegations against Kavanaugh of a very serious nature, of a sex assault, and those have failed to stack up. So now what do we see? We see another completely new set of allegations against Kavanaugh, equally unverified, equally uncorroborated, frankly, in this case, wholly irrelevant. And I mean, to argue perjury on the strength of these things, first of all, I went through the testimony very carefully. I saw no evidence of perjury there or of lying on this issue. I mean, he was quite open about the fact that he had been drinking. And I mean, you know, to argue perjury on this is just ridiculous. It's frankly silly. I mean, it suggests a debate that has just lost all bearing and all connection to reality. I mean, clearly the Democrats are and some people in the media are determined to stop this man, and they're prepared to do anything to do it. I mean, that's the only conclusion I can come to. Yeah,
they're of course they're painting the toxic masculinity card of a guy who, as a teenager, he was abusing women, and then, you know, in college he was drinking, you know, till the points where he was, you know, belligerent and drunk. And I'm going to ask you, you've gone through the rigors of law school and becoming a lawyer or a barrister in the UK. Is it possible for a man who was drinking every day, a belligerent man, a man who's always angry, getting into fights, the picture that they're painting about Kavanaugh, is this possible? And to still graduate top of your class at Yale, to get the law degree, to achieve so much?
Well, I think it'd be very difficult, but I mean, beyond that, we've also got to consider Kavanaugh's record as a judge. And here, I'm afraid, he's absolutely unequivocal. The American Bar Association, until all this started, was saying that this was a highly qualified man, fully fit to be a member of the Supreme Court. So, I mean, we don't really need to go into all of this detail because, as I said, we can look at what he achieved as a judge. So, I mean, he was clearly not drunk or aggressive or whatever it is that people are talking about when he carried out his judicial duties. And let us not forget that what we're talking about here is a judicial appointment.
Yeah, he's never, even in university, for being the way they're painting him as this guy that was drinking all the time, he doesn't have anything on his record. He's never been arrested. The claim is actually that he somehow instigated a fight between two other guys and the other guy got arrested. So, I mean, legally, there's nothing there, is there? I mean, nothing at all.
There is nothing there at all. And I mean, all this, as I said, all this is gossip about events that happened decades ago.
Exactly.
I mean, that's all it is. It's only gossip. There's nothing more there. And I think, this isn't just, I mean, it's poisonous gossip. This is character assassination. Of the most cynical kind.
Yeah, absolutely. Finally, Alexander, going through the testimony, you heard all the Democrats pretty much, on cue, FBI, FBI, FBI. And you go on to the MSN and the mainstream media, MSNBC, CNN, it's the same thing, FBI, FBI investigation. Now you're hearing almost everyone across the board, he was a heavy drinker, he was a belligerent drunk. We can't have a heavy drinker on the Supreme Court. And then you have, he perjured himself. Is it safe to say that this whole thing is completely scripted between the Democrats, the mainstream media, and that there's a higher authority, someone on top, something on top? I don't know if you can call it the deep state, the Clintons and Soros, I don't know what you want to call it, that's coordinating this entire script to character assassinate Kavanaugh. Would that be a big stretch? Because everything is so scripted to the detail.
I know. I mean, I don't think it's a huge stretch, but I don't personally think that's probably what's going on. I mean, the fact of the matter is there is massive media bias in the United States against in favor of the Democrats and against Donald Trump and against Brett Kavanaugh and against conservatives generally. I mean, I think anybody who doesn't accept that is simply blind to the realities. And that bias means that, as I said, when a story like this, when a particular line is spread from the Democrats in Congress or from wherever, it immediately gets picked up and amplified. So firstly, as I said, we get all these sex abuse, sex assault allegations, very serious allegations, can I stress. I mean, the things that he was being accused of were extraordinarily outrageous and very serious crimes. But as I said, those have essentially collapsed. So now, collectively, we look and hunt around for something else, and this person has come forward, and so the Democrats and the media jump and say, this is the proof that Kavanaugh should not be made a member of the Supreme Court. As I said, it's extremely inappropriate. It's wholly wrong. And, can I say this as someone who, before all this started, had his own doubts about Kavanaugh? I mean, Kavanaugh made some decisions or played some role during the George W. Bush administration, which I feel distinctly unhappy about.
Yeah.
But, I mean, all that's been thrown out of the window because instead of looking into those things, we're chasing around, as I said, around gossip, which simply cannot be corroborated in any way, and which is almost certainly, I mean, you're not supposed to convict people on gossip, and that's essentially what's happening.
Yeah, they should have been looking at his stance on the Patriot Act and what he did under George W. Bush on policy instead of this gossip stuff.
Exactly so.
To close it out, Alexander, do you think, multi-part question, do you think, number one, the FBI is going to find anything new? It's the first part. Do you think the FBI should investigate Ford? Because after reading Mitchell's memo that she sent, there are a lot of inconsistencies in Ford's testimony, a lot of factual inconsistencies. And do you think the FBI or some investigative body, doesn't have to be the FBI, should investigate Feinstein?
Right, well, first of all, will they find out anything in this investigation? I'm absolutely sure they won't, because first of all, I think that the Republicans will make sure that this is a short investigation, and we've heard it all already. I mean, there is absolutely nothing that by now hasn't been brought out into the public notice. I cannot believe the FBI are going to take this perjury allegation, this latest perjury allegation, at all seriously. And I mean, I'm sure that the FBI, however biased they may be against Donald Trump, are not going to start wasting their time trying to find out whether Brett Kavanaugh drank rather too much when he was a teenager. So I am sure he will be cleared. Whether or not there will be a perjury investigation of Dr. Ford, and whether there are grounds for one, well, I'm not absolutely sure that there are grounds for it, to be honest, because I think that she has, to some extent, also been manipulated by those around her, and I think Mitchell rather hinted at that. But what I am absolutely sure of is that no such investigation will take place, because I think that the way it's going to happen is that the Republicans in Congress and the FBI, if, or perhaps hopefully when Kavanaugh is confirmed, they too will want to draw a line under this whole business. And unsatisfactory though that is, I'm sure that will happen. And as for Feinstein, well, to me, she has many very serious questions to answer, because I think her handling of this affair has been disgraceful, but I'm absolutely sure she won't have to answer them. I'm sure those questions won't be asked, and I'm sure there will be no investigation of her at all. That is a rather bleak truth, but I'm sure it is the right one.
So pretty much, if he gets confirmed, this is just going to wash away. People are going to forget about it, like the Roy Moore stuff.
They won't forget about it. It will be there hanging over him, like the previous allegations made back in the 90s still hang over Clarence Thomas. But I'm afraid, if you want an investigation into this, how this whole disgraceful affair was stirred up, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, maybe there are legal reasons why it should, but the political realities are that it won't.
Real quick before I let you go, what happens if he doesn't get confirmed, Alexander? What happens to America? What happens to the United States of America if they let this character assassination go through? It's a success, because that's what it will be. It will be a success. All these techniques will be a success if it happens.
Absolutely. And I mean, the first thing to say is that, of course, the Democrats will be in their element, and they will attack on other fronts. Of that, there's no question about it. And they will use the same method to attack on other fronts. But ultimately, what is going to happen in America is that there's going to be huge anger. I mean, there is already far too much anger already in America from far too many sides. But it's going to deepen even more, because, of course, an awful lot of people in the United States have seen what has been done to Kavanaugh, and a lot of them, men, but also women in some situations, are going to say, is it really possible to destroy a man, destroy his reputation, injure his family in this way on the basis of gossip? And I think they're going to be hugely angry. I think it's going to have major political repercussions, and at the same time, it will also establish the disastrous principle that you can destroy a man and prevent them being appointed to the highest office purely on the strength of gossip, which guarantees that the same thing will happen all over again. So it would be a disastrous precedent. But can I just say something, Alex? In my opinion, a lot of the damage has already been done, because that anger is already there. A lot of people in America, seeing how Kavanaugh has been treated, will be very angry, already. The Democrats have already tapped in to the justified anger many women feel at the way they've been treated by men at various times. And, you know, they've manipulated it, and it's wrong. But as I said, that anger has now been inflated even more. And as I said, we've already seen how a confirmation hearing can be held hostage in the Senate Judiciary Committee, the Senate, in the Senate of the United States, based purely on gossip. So I think that there's been huge damage from this whole affair. I think the Republicans have handled it badly. I think the Democrats have been cynical and, dare I say, borderline corrupt. I think the whole thing has done enormous damage to the future of the United States. If he's not confirmed, that damage will be even greater.
And they've tied a monetary incentive to this, because Ford has made close to $1 million on crowdfunding pages. And so, I mean, you know, if I just had to use very basic common sense, I can imagine a lot of people coming out and making such type of accusations, because there's easy money in it now.
Well, indeed, absolutely. And if you read history, I mean, that's how dictatorships start to evolve. It's when informers, if you like, are given free rein, so that people can come forward and make allegations and accusations which have no real substantiation, but can destroy people through them. I mean, there are so many examples of this in history, and it seems that this is the route the American Republic is now taking. Disaster, an absolute disaster, and people should be both ashamed of themselves and very concerned.
Yeah, no one's going to be safe. Not the CEO. Absolutely. At the top company, not the manager in a basic position, not a woman's husband, not a woman's brother, not her son, not the white knights who are, you know, siding with the crazy feminists and trying to attack Kavanaugh as well. No one's going to be safe from this.
No one is going to be safe from this. And can I just say, I mean, you know, we can extend this all over the place, because obviously, as I say, it is feminists who are now leading this charge. But, you know, what amazes me about this is the way some of these people are letting themselves be used. And it can bite them also. I mean, you know, one can invent accusations against them also. If you start going down the road where an uncorroborated accusation can destroy a person's life, then you are no longer in a state governed by law or in a democracy. You are heading to a very dark place, and it seems to me that that's where America is going.
On that note, Alexander Mercouris, Editor-in-Chief of the Duran, thank you very much. Guys, if you like this video, click on the subscribe button down below and click on the notifications bell to get notifications every time we push out a new video. And remember to visit the Duran shop, pick up a t-shirt, help support the Duran. Until next time, take care.